As our networks get more sophisticated, sure, we're always going to use our command line based tools like we saw in an earlier nugget of this course, but we are going to turn to graphical user interface tools. Even the most hardcore old school administrators are going to use GUIs, especially in the area of sophisticated monitoring. In this nugget, we'll take a look at the Data Center Network Manager product from Cisco Systems. So again, we are dealing with a graphical user interface. And the graphical user interface really shines in the area of monitoring, as I indicated. As a matter of fact, the monitoring is an engine that includes event forwarding capabilities. So this is an incredibly convenient way in which to configure your environment so that you can get emails or pages should something go wrong inside either the LAN or the SAN. We do have a unified tool for monitoring here, as I will indicate in a moment. Now, don't forget that we do have configuration capabilities with the DCNM. And these capabilities really are powerful because we can utilize templates for consistency as we're configuring the environment with this tool. Now, if you've been around these tools for quite some time, you'll recognize what Cisco did. In order to have a tool that's as converged as your network, they took the Data Center Network Manager for LAN product and they combined it with the Fabric Manager for the storage area network. So when we are working with this single tool that we simply refer to now as DCNM, we are actually utilizing both of these powerful graphical user interfaces that we had for quite some time in the Cisco data center. And as far as your functionality goes, there is an amazingly robust support for LAN features. Things like our port manipulations, both physical and virtual. Plenty of port channeling features, including virtual port channels. We can manage our VLAN interfaces, sometimes called switched virtual interfaces, as you know. Manage our VLANs, our private VLANs. All variations of spanning tree, no problem. Fabric extension. We can deal with fiber channel over Ethernet initialization protocol snooping on the device, port profiles, virtual device context, span, and the support for your various platforms is extremely robust. So we've got all the MDS devices you could think of, the 7Ks, the 5Ks, the 4Ks, 3Ks, 2Ks, the 1000V. Sure, we can manage this virtual switch utilizing the DCNM, also the CAT 6500s, and our fabric interconnects. The 6100 fabric interconnects, for example. So, a very, very robust feature set as well as robust hardware support. Now, as I alluded to earlier, even hardcore command line people like our own Scott Morris here at CBT Nuggets, they will indeed recognize the beauty of a graphical user interface in certain areas. One of those is definitely fault management. That's right, there's an event browser in the DCNM that really is going to simplify you getting a look at events oftentimes negative events, problems that are going on in your infrastructure. A very convenient place to see that stuff. We can filter events in this browser by event, date, and time, and I think most importantly, by event severity. We can go in and we can change the status of an event. We can acknowledge the event, okay? Or we can go in and we can close the event. So the manipulation of status can definitely help us with our overall fault management practices in our organization. And then the tool really shines in the area of configuration of very complex features. One that's not shown here would be virtual port channels. So there's a wizard that allows for the very easy creation of virtual port channels. And then, of course, there's tools for monitoring the health of the virtual port channel. How about virtual device contexts? Absolutely. We have tools that will help us create virtual device contexts, and then tools that will help us stick around and manage the resource consumption, for example, of the various VDCs in our data center infrastructure. If you're looking for a tool to help you with your fabric path management, DCNM just might be it. It helps us really looking at multi-path traffic distribution, literally separating unicast from multicast from broadcast traffic. It gives us good fabric path link state awareness, reachability and latency information between various source and destination nodes in our fabric, and even provides threshold crossing alerts. This will easily allow us to identify particular hotspots in our fabric infrastructure where we might have bottleneck issues. There's even a one-touch Cisco Fabric Path Domain Tune-Up. And don't forget, there's plenty of other features in DCNM. Remember, there are tools for SAN management, particularly things like path analysis through your storage area network infrastructure, and even things like VM-aware path management. There's a tool called VM Path, and this will identify bottlenecks in VM and VMware ESX performance and really extend your visibility of the physical fabric to the VM level. Pretty cool stuff. So now let us wrap up this nugget with one of our additional features for the course, our pop quiz. We'll go through some questions here involving the last couple of nuggets. What tool would you use in order to focus in on latency issues? Would that be ping? Would it be pong? Would it be trace? Or would it be debug? And notice this question really refreshes us on a particular Cisco exam taking technique, and that is that if you knee jerk, if you go too quickly, you could very easily select the wrong response. Does ping give you latency information? Sure. Does traceroute give you latency information? Sure. Could debug give you latency information? Absolutely. But the best answer is the Pong utility that we looked at in our CLI tools nugget. So Pong is the one that really has a bias towards latency in the network. And one more, what tool would you use to send mirrored frames across the IP network for analysis? Again, you're moving too fast in the exam, you go, oh, that's easy. Mirrored frames, that's span. and you miss the question. You might even, heaven forbid, get to the end of this particular exam and then fail based on your just very, very too quick answering of the question. So I want you to slow down in order to speed up. And the problem here is we didn't read all the options. So span, yeah, I'll think, okay, maybe. Gold, no way. EEM, kind of maybe. But then ER span. ER span is the best answer and what we were looking for in this case, not just span locally, because they said we wanted to send these mirrored frames across the IP network for analysis. It is indeed the encapsulated span that we are looking for. Well, in this nugget, we took a tour of the Data Center Network Manager, and we really just introduced this graphical user tool to you. You'll be actually seeing me use it in later nuggets. This was just to provide a good overview of that particular tool. I sure hope you found this nugget informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.